Okay, hello. Oh yeah, back from a little breakaway. Been to visit my son in Denmark, and now we're back. And here today we have Karen's Gibson J45 50. I keep calling it J45. And we have Morris's bum. Sorry. He's pleased to see me because we've not been here for the best part of, well, for a week. So he kind of looked a bit shocked to see us last night. I think he'd got used to us having abandoned him. Right, so this is an interesting one for me. This is my friend Karen's guitar, and I've seen it before, and it's a guitar that kind of made me something, I don't know what the word was, made me think when I saw it. So first of all, I'd never seen a Gibson J50 before, and tell you what, shall we go and sit on your lovely stool? I know you want to be all loving. I'd never seen a J50 before, and the first thing, like a lot of Gibson things, I was underwhelmed by the quality of the finish. Oh, actually I was underwhelmed by the quality finish and build of the thing. Yeah, I just thought, is this a real, I mean, is this what you pay for all, is this what you get for all your money? And I suppose that some people, all right, hang on there, there's a good boy. Some people, he's going to come back, some people like, you know, incredibly thin finishes and stuff, and I guess the first thing that struck me visually was how thin the finish is, and you can see the sort of glue join lines and stuff, and down the back of the body here, where there's or the binding, the kind of details, it just feels incredibly thin, and it's cracking the finish is cracked off basically, just gone cracked away, and then it just looks like a cheap Chinese toy guitar with, you know, thinly applied finish. So okay, I'm told it's Gibson custom shop, you know. The neck, or the headstock is made in 5 pieces. Hello boy. 5 pieces, three central pieces, I think, to the neck, judging by the grain, the way the grain goes, and that's covered up by a sort of binding line. And then the 2 outer edge pieces, which Gibsons have, again, kind of conforms to the right build, but just the fact that the lacquer finishes crinkled and broken around those join lines as well just feels. Go on then, boy, down you go. Go on, down you go. Do as you're told. Go on, Morris, down. Yeah, it just feels. Come on. It feels a bit thin. And doesn't feel. I don't know. Maybe my mistake is I assume, or I equate expensive with thick, lustrous stuff. But we are still running. Yeah, it's been a week or so since I've done this. Anyway, so Karen's had this guitar a while. She had it bought for her second hand by her hubby partner. And so what I'm looking at here is an action that's really quite high now. And we've got quite a bit of bellying on the top here, which is, I think, if I look down here, you can see the bottom of the bridge is, it's not only is it, if I look down here, not only is it, yeah, it's curved, so it's not really what it should be. And so I've got another one of these bridge docteurs, which is very cool. This is the different one. This is one with the brass pins, so you don't have to drill any holes in it. So what I'm going to do for her is install this bridge doctor system thing. So we replaced these plastic fellows with brass ones, and actually what happens is, and it's fine for this kind of guitar, it kind of works, these pins, instead of pushing the strings down on this system, the strings go through the new replacement brass peg, so it's a kind of like a back loading thing, which is fine, and the rest of the pegs lock into place as a permanent fixture, so it means you don't have to do any destructive drilling. And the reason for that choice, by the way, is more to do with the fact there's no, on the Gibsons, there's no space behind here to fix the screw that you'd need for the other system of bridge doctor. So what we got is we've got quite a lot of bellying. What I want to do with this, I know the bridge doctor works, I've used it before, and it's actually quite surprising how well it works. Not surprising. It's recommended by StewMac, and they tend not to recommend stuff that doesn't work. So it works really well. So this guitar has, basically, I think in the past I might have lowered this to get as good an action out of this as is possible with the bellying that it's got. So it's down at its lowest. The strings are barely, only just clearing the deck. Now, one of the first things that Karen brought it with was quite a considerable back bow in the neck. Now I've taken that out since then, so these first few notes cleared up, but it's not ideal. And what somebody's done is a friend of hers has put steel strings on here, or more like electric guitar strings. And the reason I can tell that is because it's, well, first of all, they're silver coloured, and they've also got a plain G, whereas the acoustic guitar is typically, the saddle is configured for a four wound 2 plain. So we'll revert back to a set of, these are extra light 1050s, so that's fine, but these are phosphor bronze, so we'll go with those. Now, I'm going to, helpfully the bridge doctor people say, not all flat tops are supposed to be flat, and you think, oh, right, aren't they? Why are they called flat tops? And I don't know enough historically about these babies to know whether this was originally dead flat when you bought it from the factory. What I can tell you now is that it's very much not flat. So if I get a long straight edge, I haven't really got much room for that. Let's get a shorter straight edge. If we take a straight edge and put it on here, directly behind the bridge, you'll see how much the extent of the bellying is behind the bridge, and it pretty much goes all the way down the edge. It probably reduces a little bit by the time you get to the edge out here, because of the force of the constraining edge of the guitar. But what I can tell you by looking at this straight away is that there's no more adjustment possible. The action's uncomfortably high down here. At the moment the action's a little bit higher than you'd want at the nut end, and we'll take care of that too. So I'm going to take these strings off. I'm going to not chuck them away. Oh god, they're going to be hard to use again. I'm going to take these strings off. We're going to attach the bridge doctor unit. I'm going to reconfigure it now. I've got a feeling this might cost us two sets of strings to do this properly. And the reason for that is one of the things I've made a mistake of in the past is putting these bridge doctor things in and then giving the guitar back too quickly. Now I'm meeting up with Karen next week. We're going to go and jam together. So I've got if I do this today, I've got at least a good solid week to let this thing settle. I would kind of might as well use these steel strings because they'll be good enough to find the action and find the first fret action height and so on. But they're not exactly what I want. Or I could go with now I tell you what, I don't like using this stuff that isn't the correct gauge and not the right string. I'm going to use the new set, and then we'll kind of just live with it for a week. Any adjustments we have to make after that we'll make around the new strings. They're going to be better than the ones that are currently on here. So we'll take these off, we'll ditch them for good and proper. We'll fit the bridge doctor unit, we'll start to tension it. What I'll do before that is I'll try and do some measurements so I can get a sense of the physical changes that happen to this. It's not easy to do it unless you build some sort of rig or jig. We could start off with let's put it here and let's kind of measure the gap either side, or let's press it down one side and measure the gap on the other side. Now of course if that reduces, we should get a reduction down here too. So I think I'll do it from one side. We'll do the best we can right at the edge directly behind the bridge, and that's about as technical. super technical as we're going to get with this, but it's better than a poke in the eye. I just want to be able to report back some absolute measurement. Now, of course, like I say, it's not completely accurate because there will be a bit of a hill here as well. But I think it will be enough to give us a sort of workable reading. So I'm going to kind of do that to there, and we're going to go with the initial measurement of this gap here. And we'll do that with, what did I bring out here? Where did I put it is more to the point. I brought out I'll use this one since I can't find the other one. We'll use this one to measure. Okay, so this is a big guitar and not a lot of room here, so I have to be very careful with my handling. So in a way it doesn't matter kind of which bit of the thing I use. I'm going to touch the edge, touch the middle, and go for a measurement right to the edge here. Okay, now obviously it's not scientifically accurate, and we'll stick this dead in the middle of the scale, if you like, and that's what we've got. So we have our 2.5, 5, 10. That's exactly on 10 mils. So I'm going to make the first reading. Go ahead if you want. 10 millimeters of fresh air on the outside of that. So like I say, not a lot of room. We're going to need to be careful how we handle this. In taking all of these off, I'm also, when the time is right, I'm also going to clean up the guitar as well. I can't do anything with this finish. It is as it is. There's the nut isn't very well positioned here, so I'm going to just redo or check that and refit it if necessary, and clean out the slots a bit as well. What I didn't check, I suppose it'd be worth doing. That's cold fire. Sorry, I forgot to measure the actual playing action. One of the consequences of changing. Do you want to go out, Morris? Go on in, how'd you go? One of the consequences of improving, flattening out the top will be to reduce the bridge height, so it will come down physically in relation to the neck. Now when that happens, we will probably find ourselves needing some additional height on the saddle, so we're going to need to replace the saddle, assuming that the bridge doctor device is successful in gently reducing the neck or the top bellying. Now the bridge doctor people are quite confident in their how they advise you to use this thing. They say, you know, if you just want to improve tone, they kind of they hint that all you have to do is fit the unit and just create a sort of rigidity. You know, you don't kind of dial any tension into it to reduce the bellying. You just kind of stiffen everything up, and theoretically that would stop you from getting further bellying. That would stop further bellying, and then they say if you want to reduce the bellying, you dial in a bit more tension, and that will flatten it out a little bit. So we kind of, this one we know we need to reduce, so we'll tighten it up, we'll stiffen it up, and then we'll add some adjustment to it. You know, we want to be doing that adjustment. It's quite tricky. We want to be doing it with string. We need to get access in there to do the adjustment. It's quite a way in there. Well, you have to get the whole hex key in there, and then we need to take a hand out, put the strings back on, put it under tension, test it. So we're going to do a lot of off and onning with the strings I kind of feel, let me just get my thoughts, feels like we should use these for that process, but to use that we're going to have to take them right off, straighten the ends out, feed them through slightly differently. We'll try that. Okay, so just as a start point, I can tell you what we've got here. We've got approximately 2.5, 3, 4.5. Yeah, 4.5 on the low E and 3 on the high. So I'll just jot that down. Low E 4.5, high E 3, last fret of course. Let's just, I'm just going to guess this, that's actually really high. Too high. Well, I don't really mind what it is, but first fret is currently a millimetre. First fret low E is 1 millimetre, which is tons too high for a good playing action. Okay, so now we're going to undo the strings again. There'll be a bit of faffing about straightening them out, only to get them back through the new pegs. That's the only main reason. Now, could be wrong, but I don't think these were acoustic intended strings. I know you can get silk and steel, silver looking things, but these appear to be electric construction. Okay, this nut is off and wandering around, so that's kind of good that we don't have to knock it off. It might, I know it won't require shimming because we've got to bring it down a little bit, so that's probably good. We could use it again. It's bone, so we might be happy to use it. We've got the adjuster here with only one screw on it. I'm going to do some measurements here because this looks slightly misplaced, but hey, it could be a problem, it might not be. Okay, so I'm going to just use this to lightly loosen up these. Some folks comment and say, you've got the thing on the edge of your thing. It doesn't work when these are down fitted, but it's okay. Come back. Now this bridge doctor attachment, by the way, is completely reversible because there's no destructive fitting going on here, so we could redo it. I'm just going to sort of dangle these up here for a minute because I want to use them again. Stay. Okay, so we got this saddle, which I think is going to be too low anyway. I might have lowered this before in my attempt to get her a better playing action, but actually, you know what? I don't think I have. This has been filed by someone else. We've got the pickup element under there, which is cool. We'll just leave that there for a minute. Okay, so my first concern, I'm going to need the nut on properly. These are cut with the proper nut files. I can see that the tall, deep slots, but it's not sitting, or it wasn't sitting nicely fitted. I think we'll just clean up the surface of this just to make sure there's no more glue or anything getting in the way, and it's just a bit of a scraping thing. You can actually hear the sounds of the dreaded chainsaw going around the neighbourhood at the moment, and that's because we've had a storm here the last few days. Well, the last couple of days have been stormy, and that's knocked down a couple of old trees. So I'm just literally flaking off, scraping off some excess glue to give us a good fit on this nut. Now, I have bought for this guitar a tusk nut that we could fit, and and we could either do a tusk nut, and I don't think I bought both because I think this would work fairly well as is, but we could use a tusk nut for this. Kind of feels like it deserves it. And then actually it's probably easier to use a bone saddle for this because we'll need to replace it. So let's have a look and see how much taller this is going to end up being. So we've got a good reference point at the start because we know what our start height is. If we got the whole unit to that size, we'd be in good shape. This is obviously going to be too tall, as they always are. With a tusk nut, I try to avoid cutting into the slots. If I can get this to the right height without having to mess with the slots, it gives us a little bit of extra tuning stability. Having said that, there's absolutely no problem. We could get to tuning stability with bone as it is, but I want Karen's Gibson to stay in tune for her. She's had an unhappy time with this guitar so far, and it's overdue that she enjoys it the way it should do. Okay, so I'm going to take off the cover. We'll find another screw to put on the cover here. So I made an adjustment originally, the other day actually, with the truss rod, and that sits now. That's fine. I'm just going to place that there. Careful. I'll get up my filing board, that thing, and we'll just use this to, if we can, bring this down to a close approximation of this nut. So first of all, let's clean up the edge of it, or the face of it. It's not actually square, can you believe that? Tusk. It's slightly bowed or concave. So we'll try and make that, correct that to begin with. Okay, so now we want to duplicate this depth, and it's a bit of you can't really, it's actually quite difficult to line up, so it's a bit of a guesstimate. But if we put them together on here, well, we might actually prefer to do this with the thingy. So we go one end, slot one end 679 base, it's hard to get into the slot here exactly, but so it appears taller, but it actually isn't. 679 followed by 705, so 679. Let's write this down. Base end. 675, 709. That's what it's coming out as. Here we've got 844 versus 844 and 867. So we want to drop down, let's call it, to be on the safe side, 1.5 at this end and 1.2, 675, 885, we'll call it 1.75 at that end, which would be 850, 1.6, let's call it, to be on the safe side. We know it's high anyway, so we're erring on the side of caution to begin with. So that's given us a target. We can now take 1.5 reading, which is a very small amount, but that will give us a start point. Now the thing with this is if we go wrong, we can shim upwards, and it's worth shimming upwards with a guitar like this, because on the nut, because keeping these tusk slots is in a way the critical part of this. We want a good set of slots, madam, at the right height. That's what we're trying to get. So, you know, if we have to add a very small amount of shimming material to get to that place, then it's definitely worth doing. Okay, so here's my marker line to cut, and you know, if we have to cut downwards as well, we'll do that, but I'll keep this just handy. So the the challenge is to cut downwards with this. Is that permanent? I don't know. Challenge is to cut downwards and keep a square edge, because often you find you tilt forward, so we'll keep an eye on that. So we'll take down the height, so we're a bit heavier on the base end to begin with, and watch what it's doing. Okay, it's tilting back a bit, so we'll aim to square it up at this point, and same, bit more tilt back. Have a look at that, nice and square, pretty much even. Carry on at that angle, halfway there-ish, nice and square, 90 degrees. Almost there. Just cut off the flakes and we can see where we're at. We're very close now. Again, critical to make sure we've got a square edge working here. And then we're sort of, I'm lightening the grip and aiming to get this thing to square off with more repetitions but a lighter grip, or not pressing as hard, I should say. Okay, that's nearly there. A little bit of a wandering at the end. So what I'm going to do, we're at the right sort of height, he said very casually. I'm now going to go to a lighter grade, and my plan now will be to get this to flatten out on the base with lighter pressure. So we're taking less material hopefully, but just squaring it up so we get a nice angle. Okay, a bit more tilt needed to square it off. And then let it catch up as we take away that lean. Close, 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 close. A bit at the back. Now this is so difficult to do, really, that it's all too easy to end up with a slightly under now, because we're trying to catch up and square it off, and to square it off we have to take a little away, and then before you know it we could be out of the out of the right height range. So we're doing the best we can do with as little removal as possible to get a square base so it seats properly at close to the right height. Okay, so as a check we wanted 675, we might be a little under that now. Yeah, 650, that's not bad. And at this end we're probably a little high still. 735, yeah, maybe. So we could afford to take a little bit down on the treble end in order to square everything up if we needed to. A little bit of extra pressure on the treble end of things, hopefully to square it. That looks nice and square down there. Not bad, not bad. Like I say, we have ways and means of shimming if we need to. Okay, so we don't have the sort of precision here to measure really that accurately, so we could do this in one go and it work. The chances are, if we get this back on and it's spot on, we'll be incredibly lucky. It's as simple as that. I mean, we can try with a blade and we put it into the slot and we watch it. Okay, there's a bit of clearance over the first fret. That's pretty good. I would stop there, but we may still need a few sheets of very fine copper or whatever it is we might use to shim it. Excuse me, below the nose. Oh no, that's not what I wanted to do. That's not part of that. Idiot. Right, I've now dropped something. Okay, 5, and where is number 6? Number 6 was up there, but now it's gone somewhere else. Number 6, are you down here on the floor? Yes, you are. Yep. That's the problem when you're just hanging strings around for fun. you kind of need somewhere to dangle them, as if you're reaching for your tissue papers as well. Also in the shop today, I'm going to be sorting out or sprucing up a Reassembling Guitars oak caster from the olden days, which sold as I went away, so that's going to need to be tweaked to go out to its new owner. Okay, here's a good bone saddle with the what's the word, compensated wound plain B wound G setup. It's about a mil too long, but we'll just tweak that. Okay, so a first check at this point that we can do is we could put this in. This is going to be a bit of a game of guess and match and mismatch. This appears to be back to front for some reason. That's not great. We'll stick that in for now. It was back to front by the looks of it. I'm going to reinstall the low E for a minute, if I can just get it out of this handful of strings. This is where twisted strings, bent strings are an absolute pain. We might not need the whole length of this, but we've still got to straighten it out to get it out of the handful. Yeah, so we went, and then it catches up with everything else. We went over to Denmark last couple of days to visit my son, eldest son, who's moved out there with his Danish girlfriend, living out there, and it was a very interesting experience. I liked the place. It's very clean, civilized, and all those sorts of words. Safe, socially something. You know, you can leave your bike outside, not locked up, and lo and behold, it's still there when you come back. It's very, yeah, very decent society, which kind of really does stand apart from experiences of the UK. And you know, the kind of social services, or you know, social infrastructure is very, very well funded. Okay, so just a quick check. So if I imagine this being lowered to where I probably would want it, we are probably going to be in need of a tiny bit of shimming, and I'd use aluminium tape for that. We'll get a very fine lift for easy application. It's very accurate and very precise, but we're just about almost spot on. So when we're checking the gap, obviously we have to imagine we've lowered this action as far as we hope we're going to lower it with the bridge doctor. So I'm going to leave the nut at that setting, although I'm not going to glue it in place or anything, because I'm going to need to make adjustments. So you can see with this, it's not an obvious do this, do that, and it's all done kind of approach. You have to do it in stages for what you've got to get done. So first thing is, we know that works, we'll take that off, and we'll take this off, put it aside, and we'll concentrate on the tensioning the guitar part of things. Put that string back with the others, hopefully we can find them in a minute. Okay, so the bridge doctor affair. Now this one is different from the other one. This one has a system where you have, instead of the original, or the other bridge doctor, you drill a hole and you attach a screw through the bridge itself onto this unit here, which is level with that, and you basically pull it up to the underside of the bridge like that, and then you have a rod that pushes or pulls this unit to bend lever the top basically back into shape. So if the top is currently like this and you push outwards on this grub screw on the rod, you push it and the rod can't move because it's against the back of the guitar structure. So it pushes this block, and this block then twists the top back against where it's gone over years. Now it sounds quite scary, and the last guitar I did it to, it made a kind of cracking noise after a while on its own back. Nothing split, but you can clearly kind of get that wood that's changed incredibly slowly. You want to get it changed back fairly slowly. You don't want to just crank it into full tension. Having said that, the people who make this kind of say to you, don't be frightened of experimenting with it. Give it a, don't be worried about giving it a go. And it's like, okay, nervous. Now, the way this works is, I suppose we're going to still need a bridge, but we're going to need different bridges as the thing changes shape. Now, I don't want to cut this one down until basically the top stops changing, but we know that this is going to pretty soon, if I leave this one in, as soon as we get any change in the top, this is going to sink down with the bridge, and it's going to end up, what's it going to do? It's going to end up with strings touching here, so we're going to need to increase it. So, and best bet is to leave the final one out, and what we should do with this one is get some strips ready just to lift it up, and we can actually start with it higher just for the sake of it. So I go back to my box of shims and stuff, and we'll just have a fish around and see if we've got some suitable shimming material. We probably don't have anything of the exact length, so I'm going to imagine a bit of plastic. I wonder if there's a bit of plastic. We might as well do it quite grossly, if you get what I mean, quite a big chunk, and I don't think there's any kicking about in here that's just going to do the job straight off for the pleasure of tipping this all out. So let's assume there isn't, and let's find a bit of plastic to begin with, if I can. There's all manner of plastics, but what should we do? Let's start with, that's a big chunk of plastic. Let's start with a thinnish. It's not thin, but let's make one out of some, what do you call it, pickguard material. So this is going to be a little bit of a fiddle, because it's obviously going to be very thin in terms of width, and we're going to have to shave it down to fit. But we don't have anything else just immediately to hand to drop in to do the job, so we have to make something up. Well, we have to construct something. If we can just hold this down long enough. Now that's going to be too wide, obviously, but if we can cut just to the inside of it, we could possibly do it with the what's it saw? Fret saw? No, scroll saw. But yeah, I probably need to, because guess what? It's splitting off. That doesn't work in one piece. Yeah. Maybe. I'll have a go with the saw. Maybe I'll bandsaw it actually, since that's already there. Let's have a go with the bandsaw, just be quicker and keep it straight. So again, we'll drop this back on, line up, draw a line. The problem with those tin snips is they do pinch stuff like that, so you get a crimp in it or a split in it, which is no good. Excuse the noise. Nice furry bit of shimming stuff, and then I wish I had a second desk which I could keep clear, and then I would be able to do things like this much more easily. So we'll just put this on here, and we'll try and get a straight edge on this. We have to just get it down to thin enough to fit in the slot, which is a little bit difficult because it's hard to hold, as you can see, but we don't need too much thickness of it. Yeah, so Denmark, safe, quiet, peaceful, blah blah blah. You know, very small population really, 5 million or something like that, compared to 60 odd, 70 odd million in the UK, so it's a very different proposition. And from what I could tell, and from what my son was telling me, you know, there's quite a high taxation in return for the good public services you get. So seems like, I don't know, maybe in this country we don't like to pay high tax for good public services, but you know, little things that you notice when you go to different countries, that the public toilets are all spotlessly clean, and not so much that somebody goes around cleaning them, it's that the people using them treat them with a different level of respect than they do over here, which is a shame that it's got like that. But anyway, it's nice to see. While we were there, we went to a public library just to look around in the city that we were visiting, and just an incredibly resourced library with just so many. I mean, I love being around so many books anyway, but it had, you know, AV resources, and people were, I mean, they even had things for people to sit down and play games, and there was no sort of judgment, oh, you're a scummy gamer, therefore you shouldn't be allowed to be in here playing games. It was just, yeah, games is something that people do, sit down and enjoy yourself kind of thing. Okay, well, this is now a thick shim, which is probably a bit too thick for this game. That was good. Well, I've got one there. I'm just wondering if I can get some material that'll lift this up that isn't quite so solid. I've got loads of things. I've got brass sheets, I've got copper sheets, but I don't really want to go to that length. I want some thin plastic. I'll get there. Thinner than that. Wood. Bit of clear plastic. Let's mark this up and we'll do this one. Yeah, so it was, you know, I got that sort of going away and finding a very, very nicely looked after country. Makes you feel, oh, why couldn't it be like that in Great Britain? Okay, this is much thinner, well, a bit thinner, so this should do a better job. Hold on a second. Yeah, so you know, you always get into that comparing thing, but it was, I liked it. It was, I think if I'd have been 20 again, I probably would have found it boring and ultra safe, you know, as you kind of can do when you're young and foolish, no, young and seeking adventure. But for my age group now, it's a nice sort of place, really. Anyway, we didn't get to see too much. We got to visit the town of Aarhus, and see its port and its library, which was nice, a bit of a walkabout. And we also we went to Viking Museum as well, which did good. Okay. Will this one fit in here? Okay, so we've got a raised shim, so we're going to get an even higher action to begin with when we put the strings back on. But that's okay, because we're going to bring it down, and we're doing that in advance to stop the strings immediately hitting the deck. You'll get what I mean. So what we're going to do is we're going to construct this thing ready for what we need. And is it a 5mm? It might be end up being a hex. Hex, no, imperial. Of course it's imperial, isn't it? It'll be our friends, the imperial, their imperial majesties, Stu Mac, made in the US. So somewhere in here I've got imperial doofer, and it's this made in Mexico. One will do the job. It may just be a tiny bit loose as well, but it will do. This is imperial. I don't know how many more of these I've got kicking around. I used to keep the imperial one out, available, but I can't immediately see it unless it's this one. Is it this one? No. No. It's a good idea to have it out somewhere. Is it this one? Or is that just a copy of that one? No, it's a copy of that one, stupidly. Anyway, yeah, it's good idea to have your imperial thing out, madam. So the idea is, what we're going to do is this bit is going to go up under the bridge. So first of all, we know where the ideal position is for this thing to hook up, and I'll show you now. The ideal place is that this bit pushes up underneath the saddle. So we have to kind of work out the distance between the ideal position of this and where the pin is going to be, and it's going to be in the front one. Now the other thing about this that I think they've got slightly off the mark with this one is that they intend this to plug into the D pin. Now it's only slightly off center, but that's going to end up pushing this off to one side. I think they've tried to put a hole in here slightly off center, but it isn't off center enough for my liking. But I'm not going to drill another one because that's then it's also going to cause problems. So we've got to get this done up in here, but we have to get this done up to a point where it's level with that. So we're going to need to do some pliering, which again I don't find fantastic. But once we've done that, we're going to push this through here, put all that in there, and we're going to line this up to the point where we find out where this protrudes from here. So we put it against the back post, and then we find out where it connects up. In this case it's only just going to reach it probably, and then we're going to, actually we do it that way around, don't we? And then we're going to cut a bit off this, and then we're going to cut it slightly short to give ourselves a start point that's sort of like that. Okay, and we're going to put the hex screw back in, and we're going to then use it to push this hither or thither. Now I'm going to read this very carefully, but I'm sure I get it right. So we insert the tension rod into the guitar and through the tension hole with the pointed end towards the guitar tail block, right? Mark the tension rod where it protrudes from the system block. Okay, how are you going to get two hands in here? Remove the tension rod and cut the rod 3/8 of an inch shorter than the mark. Right. Pointed end. Okay. Now that's quite interesting, because what we're going to end up doing is putting one of these through into here, and that's going to be the bit that holds it down. What we don't know from sitting here is how we know where that's going to go. That's going to sit in there like that. We can probably feel where it comes through. Yes. And we now have to somehow get that into that, and the only thing we've got to tighten it up with to get this thing in place to begin with, to get our dimensions cut, is we've got some little holes in here that we can use as a tensioning hole bar thing. So we're going to have to find something incredibly thin that's going to go through there and tension it. Now, will this work? Here's a little bar. Yes, okay, we'll use that as our rod. That's going to do it from above. Okay, so we're going to do that. We'll take that out of the way. So that's going to be what we use to tension this to that. Then we do the thing with marking the thing. So first thing we're going to do is tighten this down to flush with the top of the thingy block, and that's critical, because otherwise we'll be on a weird thing. Now actually that happens to be flush, the nylon sits flush with the wood, they've got the distances right, or the dimensions right, and can't go any further. So that's our prepared unit. Then we go through there, and magically, this is the bit that cracks me up. Somehow, magically, we're going to make this thing all happen with hardly any ability to get our hands in there. And move things out of the way so we keep clear of the guitar. Right, so first of all, armed with just our hands and this, we're going to try and get the end of this into the top of that way round. So to do that we're going to have to be a little bit, now there's a wire helpfully right at the end of this, that's the pickup output, so we're going to have to somehow make sure we go round that. There's the top of that, there's the oh my god. Right, let's try this. Right, move, end to end to end. Okay, thank you. No, missed. Oh no. Touching into the, grabbing onto the nylon. Yeah. Okay. So this is the first attachment. Now we've got it gripping in the right place. Now I don't want this to move too much, so I'm going to start by doing it up a fair way. I don't want to put it on tight, but I do want it on far enough so that it's not going to rock to and fro. So I just wanted to hold it in place, and I want it sort of as close to pointing in the right plane as possible. Okay, so there is our retaining thing, and we go this bit through here, through the, that's moving a bit. Okay, let's hold that in place and allowing that just to pull it a little tighter. There we go. And then we go through the hole, don't we? Yay! Down to the back post, which is also loose, which isn't great, so we have to tighten that up. But anyway, we go through to the back. I hope that doesn't arrive at exactly the same place that the jack's in. That would be a bit of a disaster. Now, short of sticking a phone in here and looking, or a camera right in here, I can't see exactly what this is doing, but you can. By the miracle of modern battery power, yay, you can take a ride and see what's going on there. So no, there's no light. I'll talk to you for a minute. You are in a weird and wonderful world of the Twilight Zone. Let's turn that off. Give us a torchy thing. Look at that. See how that works? Sort of. I can't really stop and go back and look at this, so I'm going to hope that it's all good and that isn't pushing on the jack thing. Right, let's turn that off. Thank you. There you are. For your special mission. Plug you back in. Come on. Plug in. All the way around. Plug you in. No. Yikes. Plug you in. You are in. URL. Okay, so now what we have to do, with some incredible means of marking what you can't possibly see, we're going to go in here and make a mark on this rod somehow where it protrudes, we think. And we're going to remove that. And we have the mark. Right, now we want 3/8 of an inch. I can't ever remember what that is in millimeters, so let's do it on our device. It's a 3/8 of an inch. 3/8 of an inch shorter than the mark. 3/8 of an inch in mils. 3/8 inch to millimeters. 9.5 millimeters. Okay, short of the mark. Hold tight. 9.5 millimeters. 6, 7, 8, 9. 9.5. There we go. And we're going to cut it off at that point. That's what it's going to tell us to do, I promise you. 9.5 mils. 9.5 millimeters. Cut the rod 3/8 shorter than the mark. We're going to cut it from the square end, at the square end. Okay, now this just basically becomes the right length for this guitar to do the right amount of pushing. So we'll just cut that at that place. And ideally we want this to be nice and square to press against the back end of the guitar post, or the block at the end. And if we're not comfortable with that being square, we can always get it on our sanding block and just make sure it is to our complete satisfaction. Try it a bit by eye, but it'll do. Right, so we have our working screw thing doing what it should, and we'll take this out. Let's line up a hole along the middle here, if I can get it out. Right, so that now is lined up, and it has, each of these has 4 holes in it, and I'm going to line up the other one size wise, and they've got to be good eyes for this, because the idea is we put them in ranging in size now. We have to be able to tell the differences. Oh my word. Biggest, so 6, 5, 4, 4 is there. We've got 4. Oh boy, can you tell the difference between those? I can't, but I can tell that's a high E. Lordy. I think that one's, my instinct tells me that one's a bit bigger. B thingy. Right, so what we're going to do, the idea is we now take each one of these and we're going to attach them into the hole. Each of these has only got one. Why has this one only got one attachment point and this one has 2? Well, I don't know, but we go through here like this. We get the whole of this shebang through like this, put it on, avoiding the microphone pickup wires, and the idea is we get this to pick up onto the thread of the receiving nut if we can, and this is fiddlesome, I can tell you that right now. It's not going on. Okay, so the first thing is oh, this is a fixed, is that a single thing or is it 2 pieces? It's a single thing. So it's a kind of crimp nut thing. So we have to get this on, get it lined up and get a bite. Right, okay, so that's on. And we're going to get all of these on, and we want to get the holes lined. We want them to stay on but the holes to line up. So we'll put them all in loosely first, and then we'll tighten them a little. Now it does say in the instructions, be careful not to over tighten. Their purpose is to hold the strings, and they'll do that pretty well without needing to be heavily tightened under pressure. Now, for some reason, I've attached this to completely the wrong one. I've attached it to the first one again, which is very silly of me. Where's the second one, please? Hello, there you are. Boy, is this ever fiddly. Hello, the second one? There you are. That's now this second one is tucked behind a strut. Oh my lordy. Yes, that is hard. Okay, yeah, good. It's hard work, I tell you. Okay, where's this one come through? Oh, plenty of access. little small children's fingers required. Big fat hands, not so good. Okay, so the idea is that we're going to feed the strings through the back of each of these brass pins when we come to restring, and yikes, they do alert you to one thing, and that is you may have to tweak the wound ends of the strings to just get the little bunch of twisted wire through. It's a bit of a faff, and they don't keep quiet about that, but it's not the end of the world. Now these are designed so that the strings come through and exit low down in the brass nut, which is good. Now these should be self-gripping at this point, so we should be able to... Oh, well, this is going to be too big. But the only thing that will go through this is a piece of wire of some sort, like a string end. So I might just borrow a piece of string from here in order to tighten it up. Let's see if it will do it. Now this is pointing in the right direction already. It's currently not gripping. So we go back to here, we hold it in place and we tighten it up a little bit. Okay, we probably would be advised to start off, get it finger tight, and then aim to just tweak the last bit to have the string thing in line, which it currently is, and then the same with the other. So finger tight all of them, and then do what you need to do to line up the string. Somewhere along the line I want the thinnest thing I can have, stiff thing, madam, for turning this. And this one has stopped just in line with the other one, so I actually can't turn this by means of any device known to man, or anyone else for that matter. So that's not great. So somehow I've got to get this in line, so it means I probably have to slack that off, tighten the thing on the inside again, and just fiddle it until it grips in the right plane, if you get what I'm saying, so I can do the final tighten with the pointing in, holy cow, pointing in the right direction. I don't really have a socket or anything to hang on to this at the back. I'm trying to find a way of attaching this as well as I can and getting... Well, I'm going to go with that. These aren't over tight at all by any means, but they should get to a place where you can tighten. They should stay in place is what I'm basically trying to say. So they've got to be a little bit under tension for them to stay where they're put, which I think is just about on. You stay there, you stay there, you stay there. I don't want to grip them with the pliers because I don't want to kind of crunch the metal, because it's brass and it looks good. That one's already in place. This one I'm going to try and tighten up. There we go. And this one the same. I'm going to try and get the nut done up just before we start turning it, and then the whole thing should stay where it is. Okay, so I'm confident that that one, they're all in the right place. Ooh, so we've done that bit. Now the bit we have got to do is we get this bit through here, pushed back again to the back post, So actually, before I tighten that up, I'm going to make sure that the jack socket's tight. So we put these things down, we get our StewMac thing. Now this, I believe, can only be tightened really by hand. We've got an outside thing and an inside thing. Stay. So we tighten that by that, but then the outside bit has... Alright, so what is this in here? Please don't tell me it's a... do up, undo. Okay, take this off. Let's do the nut underneath. There's a retaining nut that's become loose. Stay there. It's a LR bags type system. Sorry you can't see it. So I'm using my fabulous StewMac jack holding tool to allow me to tighten this up. Now that's still loose, so it's not tightened up on the inside. Oh Lord, do you know something? I don't have a hand capable of doing that. Isn't that rubbish? Okay, let's start from the beginning, because this is not working correctly. Take that off. Okay, this has a thing for tightening up on it, which requires a hex key of some sort to go through. Too big, too big. Smallish, smallish. So the jack allows you to hold the inside piece, which isn't easy if you've got bloody great sleeves on. Go through, we grab the LR bags unit and we see what's going on with it. Let's just undo this first. So we've got an internal and an external nut by the looks of it, which need doing up. This is all turning around to hold this in place. Whatever this is, come undone. Okay, first of all, I'm going to get this undone by holding that in place and pulling that round. We can't because we don't have access. Let's try that. Okay, thank you. That's that undone. Phone, you're on silent. Now go away. Oh, I'm busy, sorry. Okay, so we've got the... No, Dad, I'm busy. I'm right in the middle of a job that I really don't want to interrupt. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to just bring out the LR bags unit and see what... Whoa. It's a Fishman. Well, it's that style. So we've got a bunch of washers, nuts and some locking washers, and those were turning, so that's not good. So let's try and do those up so they don't actually do anything at the moment. We need all of this to go through. According to this, we do. Let's just tighten one of these up so it stays where it is. Okay, let's put these little locking washers on, and we've got to come through. Okay, that's that. I don't care about that. Come up under the bottom here. Jesus, wept. I have no good access. Okay, that's wobbling around at the moment, all over the place. So let's get the stiffener rod out the way first, so it's not getting in the way. Get this back through. North side of the thing or the south side of the thing? I think south side, but it's still difficult to reach. Holy moly. How did I reach there before? What kind of extra long hands did I have? Go under there. Oh my god. I don't have hands capable of reaching this, can you believe? Get on the end of there, please. Thank you. Thank you. All the way to there. Now these should pull up tight against there. Should. And this should be a matter of holding this one. But you have to be able to hold this one, which, oh goodness sakes. How does a person hold that one? No one doesn't. One does this one. I see, they made this so that you don't have to have the famous StewMac tool, which I happen to have. So the theory is you hold that with that, and somehow you work around that with this. Right, for some reason this is not going on. Why isn't it going on? By the way, there is a crack down here I noticed earlier on, and that's could be because of the existing buckling, bellying. Okay, so this can't go on any further. This can't go on anymore. So there's something about this arrangement that isn't allowing this to bite down and tighten. So that's no use. So it's too much poking through, I reckon. Me reckons. That means we have to pull the nuts out a bit further. Yeah. So there's nothing putting tension on there. Right. Back to here. Right. Let's open this up. Pull these forward a few millimeters. We've given it a few more mils of. Right. That needs tightening up for a start. This needs. It's a problem when you've got three nuts on the same thing. They're all going and resisting each other. Okay, let's give this a bit more. Tighten that up to that. Tighten this up to here. Give this a crank with this against this. Get these two back on there. That one against that one. What do we want? Do we want more or less? I'm confused now. We want less through, that's right. So, use our handy StewMac tool. It gives us eyes where we haven't otherwise got them, or fingers or hands or whatever. Where are you? There you are. Oh, goes onto there, just about. Push that through there. Through the hole. Doofer on there. What's it on there? Tighten that up there. Just brilliant design. Absolutely stunning design. Right, now do we get a chance to hold this solid? Okay, this is now holding firm. Aha! Victory! Now we'll use the StewMac tool to hold in reverse while we tighten up frontwards. Thank like so. I thank you. Better. Thank you, and double thank you. Rotate forward and we're free. Attach jack plug cover. All looks nice. Right, back where we were. Tensioner. Oh, hello. Somebody's come to visit. Tensioner through. Hitting some wires. Bunking somewhere. Oh, Morris, please. We don't need people leaping about. Now, I've got to get... Not the best of times to come visiting a Morris. We put this in there, and with our blind hat... Yeah, no, Morris, come on. Please. Where's the hole? Where is the hole? Now we have to do this with an L-shaped hex key. We've got to get this in. No, it's not going in. Oh man. Right, let's try and just do it by hand first, and then we'll end up probably dropping it. Come on, you want to go into a piece of soft wood. Morris. No. I know you're happy that I'm home and all that. No. That's cool that this Bridge Doctor malarkey comes from Roswell, New Mexico. So it's so top secret. Okay, now this has got to push against the block at the back. And that is a tricky kettle of fish because there's no way on the planet Earth that I'm going to reach that with my hand to check or to be able to know that that is in fact exactly where it's landed. But it has to be there to work. So we turn this. You're a sweetheart, Morris, but right now. Okay. So the grub screw is going in, or the little screw is going in, and then I'm going to try and look in here. Let's see if I can get any indication of the direction. That looks in a straight line. It's going to have to be slightly off straight because we're not dead center. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my camera if Morris jumps down. Come on, boy. Sorry, Morris. That wasn't a good landing. Sorry, Morris. Didn't mean to hurt you, but I'm slightly otherwise engaged. I'm going to use the camera. Yeah, have some more heat. I don't know. Let's see if I can take a picture or a video in here using this device. Video, please. Thank you. Video. Start running. Yeah, running. Okay. Running in here. I can't see anything. Fab. Can we put the light on, please? On. Thank you. Wow. God. Is that, there is not that much of a block, and that's almost going sideways. That's something. Come on, can we get close up, please? Right, so that has gone sideways of its mark, which is not good. Thanks to the odd positioning. Hey. Turn the light off. Right, I'm going to take this back out, or not out, but undo this. So basically I can tell that that has now gone off to the side, away from the block. And that's not brilliant. So we undo this again. Undo this again. Probably not all the way out, but certainly enough to pull this rod back somewhat. So let's feel it. We got, holy crap. Oh. challenge here is, because I thought this would be a problem, the challenge here is because they've chosen to use the D, the D peg, it's off centre, and so in order to get it back to centre you have to push the rod sideways somewhat, okay, and it has to then also go past the Fishman device. Now, unless you're some sort of incredible small-handed creature, which I am not, I cannot get my hands to the back of this arrangement. So what I can do is I can push down to the back, feel, go round the wires. Right, let's come back out again. Go between the wires, possibly, so they're kind of out of my way. Bend it down, touch down on the wood of the back of the guitar, then we bring it round to where I can feel it's hitting the block. There's the block. Now, the problem with that is we have no way of making sure that stays exactly there. So feel it again, there it is, that's on the mark, but this could move so easily, it's beyond the funny. So if I assume that I'm on the mark now, I'll go back in and gently try to install the plug, or whatever it's called, the grub screw, without twisting anything. And then we're going to gently get the Allen key in and turn that to do it up, hopefully without rotating the Now if I'm still on target, I'm going to try and go till it just tightens up a little bit, and then I'll look again with the camera. Look again with the camera, and then once I'm sure it's on, if I'm confident that it's on the block, then I will tighten it up and we'll start doing some adjustments over time. Now, whether or not this whole unit rotates or spins has to do with has a lot to do with how tight the original locator screw is. Okay, now I'm feeling this has made a strong-ish connection against the wood. Now's the time to look again with my light bulbs. Always on, please. We look through here and we go, where is that? And that's just, it's doing it again, but it's this time it's on the block, but I can't actually tell. It's trying to go off sideways again. Oh, actually, you know, come on, get your head around it. How big is this block? That's quite big. I'm zoomed miles in, aren't I? So that's in the block too. This is dead center on the block. And that's, where's the edge of the block? Can't see. Can I see under here? No. So the block ends. I have a horrible feeling I've missed the block then. Am I to the left of the block? So we have to be right next to the jack socket, which I have a feeling we are now not. Thanks. So that's no good again. Problem is, how do you know, how do you get it to be right next to the thing? Well, we have to undo this, bring it right out, create some leeway to reel this in a bit. So we come back with this till the grub screw appears. You would like to think that you could gauge it by the position of this little unit down here, but it doesn't give you a good enough, the actual peg doesn't give you a good enough indication of where you are. Okay, let's see if we're far enough out to pull back to clear the edge of the block and move it forward. Right, there's our thing. We want to be there, still not far enough out. It's it's really worth it when you've done all of this. I promise you. You've got to get it in the right place. Right, that's now starting to emerge from the end. So we should have enough, as much as is necessary, to get this up onto the block. Right, if that is as it says, spot on right next to, and that's gone past the socket, and that's not turning the tool in that direction anymore. We want it to, so let's see. My arm is breaking now. So we want this right next to the unit. We can't go below it, we can't go above it, we have to go right on the side to side of it. So now I'm going to try and use this to tighten that up, but we can't. That has to just do what it does. Okay, now I think that is on the mark. You might say, well, check it again with the video. Right, okay, I will. Right, are we on the mark? Yeah, we're on the block next to our friend, what's it? Well, that's a bit of a mess where that hole was drilled. Okay, now assuming that this doesn't rotate anywhere in the process of tightening it up, we should be able to tighten it up. Which way am I going? Wait. I'll put it a bit of tightening and then I'll have another look. See if we... Okay, still. Yeah, Roswell, New Mexico. I don't want this to turn. The problem is I only have a L-shaped hex key, which kind of means a sort of sideways leverage whatever I do. This should tighten up at some point where it contacts the end. Come on. Oh, it's come off again. Oh, can you believe it? Holy crap. This is not funny. This is turning as I turn things to get it into place. It's winding its way off the edge. And I don't know if that's because there's a slope to the edge of the block. It could be, for all I know. But it doesn't help that I'm having to turn with an L-shaped key because I don't have a gauge of key that will turn in a straight line. I can try and do this by hand in a straight line. Okay, so that isn't working. Flame in hell. This is all over the place now. Get up to the end of the guitar. Now this popped out the end altogether. Up to the end of the thing. Right. Are you in the thing? You're in the thing. To have to do something that you can't see is absolutely a pain in the royal what's it. Now, as I say, I can't get this, I cannot make this stay in line, even if I had a hole available there to do it. I can't make it stay in line. So, if that's in line, that's right next to the jack socket, but for some reason, the last time I tried to tighten that up, it went for a walk. I'm going to try and do it now, and this time I'm going to attempt to turn in a straight line without using any L-shaped, well, using the L-shaped part of the key. But if it goes anywhere, then I'm still in trouble. Right, take another look. Next to there, it's in place still. It's a good system, I promise you. are there in terms of positioning. Okay, I can see it's under tension as well. The bar has some bow in it, looking down it, which means it's tensioned. So this is doing its job now. Ooh, finally. Ta-da. Okay, so the only other thing we have to concern ourselves with is making sure that this thing is lined up for its job as a. So that's tightened up too because that's under a lot of pressure now. We have to get this, and that isn't going to work because that's under a load of pressure. Well, they didn't tell you that. So if you're too tightened up, you can't rotate the whole round on this, which is what you need to be able to do to line it up for its role as a, what do you call it, a peg. So I'm going to have to take this off. This one's way under pressure now. That's bizarre. So now I'm slacking. Am I slacking off? I think I am. So when this becomes slack, I should be able to move this round. We still hope the thing's in place, but when it becomes slack, we'll move this round and line it up. There we go. And then I'm going to hold this now. Sorry, you can't see it. I'm going to tighten back up, but this time I'm going to hold this in line. So of all the ones, as this tightens up, this little baby stays in place so that we can put our D string through there in the right angle. Okay, so that feels good. Now, actually, what I've noticed straight away is the others have become loose already because of the movement of the bridge. The others have, wow, that's incredible. The others have become loose. So we're going to need to continue tightening those up. So let's find the little thing again, that one. And we'll just tighten them up one by one. But that's a first sign, is that some of them will become loose because the shape of the bridge has changed. So we'll go through and just tighten up if we can. We hold the nut, pull it round and tighten. So it's a bit fiddly, but you don't have to do this more than once. Now, right now, I'm content with that. Sorry it took so long, but that's what it does. There's no simple way. Okay, so we now have this, that's not the right thing. We now have this flattened out. Now what's gonna happen, I think, is when we put these on, we might find that the action is substantially different. So let's begin with our original one. Now, this is obviously different now because, can we just turn that off please? It's different now because we're going to push these through the pins, and that's going to change the way this works a bit. So we go through the pin, up the other side, twang, and onto here. So we'll start loading this up gently just to get a feel of how things are, and we can insert the so that's actually too high, so maybe we don't need that in just yet. Maybe I was overestimating the physical size that's going to come down. So let's take this out for a minute and we'll stick with the original. It's good to have it to hand. Right, there's our original, and we'll just place the Tuscavated nut in there. Okay. So the thing about this is I'm not going to make any judgments on this yet. I can see the last time I looked in here, I could see that, I'll just double check, but a minute ago I had it under a fair bit of tension, a reasonable amount of tension, and that's under tension now. Because the idea is that in putting it under tension, you push forward this bridge like that. So it pushes gently, counteracts and pushes back. That's the idea. I guess there's a chance that if the whole geometry of the guitar's gone south, then there's a possibility that no amount of bridge doctoring will help it, but I think I've had good results up till now, so it's worth sticking with it. We'll just load it up and get a feel for how it is. We'll use these old electric strings, despite them not being what you really want. So that's a tiny bit loose. You can just try and add a tiny bit of tightening to that. I suspect that by the time we've tightened this all up and checked it a bit, and if it's made any adjustments, then I suspect we may find ourselves, can I tighten this up at all? Hellfire. Where's the thing? No, it's not that one. Is it that one? Yes. We may find that as it changes shape slightly, we may have to make adjustments and tighten these up again at another time. So we kind of, yeah, we get a feel of it for which ones are actually moving. And I don't think, it's not that critical to get them all tightened up in one go, but I think I can't find the little, can't find the little drill bit that I used a second ago. Never mind, I have to do without it for now. The fact that these are slightly loose is okay. Now, we need those little drill bits. Where did it go? Too handy, too convenient. Wow. Probably got some more somewhere, but it was just, there it is. Thank you. Magnetically stuck to that. Yeah, so you know, that's the other thing that they don't kind of tell you, is that as you make tension the whole thing, and as it starts to change, you are basically getting a where's the thing? There it is. Yeah, you're getting your pegs will come loose, if you like, because everything's changing a bit. So they can't tell you that. They don't know that. So I'm trying to just tighten them up just enough, since I don't have a socket that will hold them in place. I just want them to stay on enough to get it all done up. Okay. So the old strings at work. Now we need some pliers because we're working with old strings. We'll pull them through. Doesn't sound great, but so it's a good system, but as you can see, it's not a quick undertaking. It's not rocket science, but it's just fiddly and pain in the what's-it-y. And then, of course, you're working with old strings, so they don't behave and do whatever they want. So I'm going to carry on just cutting off any spares so they don't totally annoy me. So don't forget, this is going to be under tension again, and the idea is that the bridge doctory bit will stop the tension pulling, stop the forces of the strings pulling the guitar out of shape again. So I'm going to cut this bit off to hopefully make this easier. I could be wrong. Stick them there. So yeah, I had a week without any guitars in my life. It was weird. But you know, came back to the usual. Oh no, the washing machine's blown up and died, so we'll just get a new one. Oh no, it isn't long enough, so we can't get that one done up there. So that wasn't so clever. What was that? A D string of some sort. Let's find a spare one. D string, E for 6, D or 4th, that'll do me. It's a pain in the ass affair. Right, this is our anchor post, so please go through the right way and do as you're supposed to of all of them. Okay. So there was a spare D string to get me out of trouble. Thanks to Simon's Sacrificial Strings. That was relatively painless. Get rid of that. Right. And these horrible coily bloody things that are going to be impossible to use. We'll try. Oh, look at them. Jammed up. Tangled up. Ugh. There's nothing worse than using old strings, but you kind of have to sometimes for the sacrificial kind of end of things. If you're lucky enough that they permit you to work with them, or they just go, nope, not cooperating, I'm just going to catch myself around every possible thing. Look at this, not even, we won't even go through there. Look at that. An absolute pain in the doof. Anyway. So yeah, we had a couple of days in Denmark, 3 nights I think it was, and got to see my eldest son, stay with him and his girlfriend, and go out visiting places. And then we just came back on Tuesday, and it was quite funny because the plane we were supposed to get on, it was a 2:30 flight from Denmark to Stansted. And we got down to the gate and they said, oh, I'm afraid the plane is broken. So they had to send somebody from the UK out to fix the plane. Ah, right, so here we go, the first one that doesn't go through the holes. Oh, you son of a gun. That's going to pop right off and ruin the whole game. Still, we'll just use it for now. So one of the problems with this one is I bet you most of the strings that these are designed for won't go through the holes because of the, certainly not the what do you call them, the plain strings, because of these little clusters of the wiring at the end. So this one's all scrunched up and it may break off, so we're prepared for that. But in the bridge doctor thing, they show you a picture of how to fold these little coils back on themselves before you try and make it go through. But do you know something? I'm not sure it's going to be easy to do, and didn't need to in that case. Anyway, so yeah, they said plane's broken. We have to send to London for an expert to fly out and come and fix it for you. So initially I was kind of, oh god, no, why, and all of that sort of stuff. See, now this is trying not to stick on here because it's a plain string and it wants to come off the post. Anyway, so we were lucky really, because oh lordy, this airport we were at is in a way one of the most comfortable you could possibly imagine if you had to get stranded and waste or kill a bit of time. And so you got that sort of feeling of, ooh, our aircraft is broken. Do I really want to go in that aircraft at all? And I'd rather send another one instead of sending someone out to fix it. But you don't have a choice. So I guess the guy came out, did the fixing bit, and we were there for 6 hours extra. But you know something? It was so civilized, I have to say, that it didn't bother us really at all. If it had been Gatwick or somewhere like that, it would have been a bit of an uncomfortable horror. But in this place, in Aarhus, that snapped off, so this doesn't want to play ball. In the Aarhus airport, it was incredibly chilled, and there was Wi-Fi. The food was absolutely great, expensive, but that's just Danish standards, but great quality compared to what you might find at Gatwick if you were stranded there. and really comfortable sofas and stuff. And so we finally got on the plane. Holy crap, can I get this old string through here? We finally got on the plane at about 8 o'clock and flew back through the stormy night. And I'd actually thought that we were going to have a lot more trouble at Stansted, you know, with the winds and stuff, but actually it turned out to be okay. Now this string is not going to want to go on here because it's now short and it's there's not enough to wind on because all the coiled bits have had to be broken off to even get it through. So I suspect we're going to end up with having to find another one from somewhere. Yep, that's not even going to vaguely stay on. Nope. Waste of time. Right, that can go in the bin as well. I'm going to go out, Morris. Go on, out you go. Go on, shift. See the suffering of this. It all looks easy on paper, right? But it isn't. You know, you get down to things like, okay, am I going to toss away an entire pack of strings because this one keeps breaking, or am I going to, you know, am I going to struggle on through? I don't really want that one. That's crap. Have I got enough to go through here? I might just have. But yeah, you know, so doing stuff with old strings is a real hiding to nothing. But you don't want to spend 10 quid's worth of strings just getting the basics done, which is what we've got to do here. So even finding the damn hole to get it through is hard enough. Right, we might just get away with this one. Anyway, yeah, so 6 hours late we took off, and it was a bit of a kicking around on the way in Stansted because it was stormy, but actually relatively little compared to what the weather forecast had been predicting, gusts of 45 knots or miles an hour actually, and more. So it was surprisingly easy. And cleverly, I had booked on the way up and the way back. I had booked hotel rooms or hotel room at that place, Stansted, in order to get have the most, to arrive most relaxed. So we were able to. So I'm really pleased we did. Okay, so I'm just going to get this in tune first and see if it's made any improvement. So that's under tension. Now right now that hasn't, it's flattened out below the, behind the bridge, but I'm not sure it's reduced the action that much. We shall see. I think we'll need to give it some time, so it might be all we do for today. Let's have a quick look at what the current measurement is. Well, it's definitely reduced it. Let's go right to the edge there. Get this to stay on. Pushing down on that edge. Where's the gauge? There's the gauge. Okay, so that's taken it down to 5.5. So it's quite a reduction. Where are we going at 5.5? So now is 5.5 mils. But overall, that's what have we got back? Have we got much room back? Yeah, so that's given us improved that, but this could be that we just haven't got the geometry on this baby anymore. That's what it's looking like, which is a shame. This isn't diving into the body particularly. This is now flattened out, so it's less likely to break off, and we've still got a bit of a bellying going on behind here, so less directly behind the bridge. Still a fair amount if we measure it. So the bellying now is kind of still there. We've reduced it here a bit. I might just want to leave this for a while now. So, but measured behind the bridge, we've flattened this out for sure. But that's quite interesting, isn't it? How we haven't adjusted everything. We've just taken care of that, the bridge bellying. But it's going to guarantee that the bridge stays on longer. I mean, that's one plus of this. I think what's going to happen is this. I think Karen needs to keep this dehumidified. That could be another of its problems. So keeping it in a case with those things, desiccants in the case, so this stays dry or possibly dries out a bit more, because the loading of the strings can be one reason why it has this problem. And it's bellied here, you see. It's bellied. The whole top is quite curved. So it could be excessive humidity as well causing this, which can only be cured slowly over time. But keeping this tightened up and flattened back down is a good start, because whatever bellying is going on overall, what you don't want is the bridge to continue doing that, which it was, because it will eventually spring free. And this way is going to ensure that the glue stays attached a lot longer. I think we do need to recommend the what do you call it? That thing, dehumidification. We're looking at the actions here. They're actually looking quite nice on the first fret at the moment. I would be tempted, since the only thing we're now going to make any adjustments on, if we're lucky, will be, let's have a look, will it be any, I think the first fret's going to be alright, slightly high at the moment, but even if we reduce the action over a week or so, we're not going to need a new nut. I think we should stick the nut on, put it under phosphor bronze string loading, leave that in there for now, until such times as we don't need it. Currently we still do. It needs to be that low. There's a millimetre of room, but I wouldn't want to try and take any more height off that. The only other alternative you have is to reduce the saddle, the bridge itself, but that's a destructive process which I'd rather not do, not unless my customer says I absolutely want that to happen. So I'm going to lightly glue this nut in place. I'm going to ditch these strings. We're going to put on a full set of new phosphor bronze, load them up to speed, and then we're going to leave this guitar to sit in full adjust mode for a few days, and then actually I might even come back. Do you know, hang on. No, you know something? What makes better sense now is to put this under tension now, take this in the house, put it in its case with some desiccants, and leave it for a few days. Tone. Right, I'm going to put this back in its box, put some desiccant in with it, and we're going to leave this for a few days and come back and check the action again. I'll just do another quick check here, see where we're at. So we had, on the base side, we had 4.5 before. We are on a little bit lower actually. We are on 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4. We're on 4 and we're on 3. Yeah, it's hardly changed the action down here. So the overall bellying is still the same, but it's straightened the bridge out. That's what it's done. It's flattened the bridge out in this area here, which is kind of probably a good thing to do, I would say. Just looking down the neck, there isn't any massive neck dive or anything that stands out straight away as any worry. It's not like it's collapsing into this end, which sometimes happens. So the basic shape of the guitar is still seems to be all right, other than the general bellying of the whole top, all the way down actually. So it's not just in one place. So, you know, I think we're going to make small improvement. Like, we've flattened this out, we've reduced the bellying behind the bridge immediately. This is still a little bit proud, so we want to dehumidify as the next step. The good thing about the Bridge Doctor is that it's claimed to improve the projection of the guitar anyway. Which we'll hear when we finally go and put some phosphor bronzes on, but let's not do those yet. I mean, what we really want is a reduction, ideally down to what would be about 2.5 millimeters at the last fret, but we are, and it's a long way down on this top here. I mean, just looking at the geometry of this, it doesn't even look, can't even quite see how this would be possible, even if this wasn't bellied. I mean, it's quite a tall bridge, so it could be the overall neck angle is wrong, but I would expect to see some kind of distortion of the whole neck sinking into the top here, and there's no, I can't really see a sign of that, although it's, you know, geometry wise in relation to the bridge, it is significantly out of whack. But like I say, you can see that even this part is bellied, so the whole thing is bellied, which could be the over humidity as well. So we're some of the way. I'll put this truss rod thing back on for now, so we know where it is, and then we'll park this in its box for a couple of days and come back in and check and see if anything has changed, and we'll look at the curvature of the rod inside. You know, the thing is, I don't want to push back too hard on it. It's flattened the bridge out very well. I can look at that line now, and it's gone from being a curve to being a dead flat, which it should be. But what we obviously have is quite a lot of overall misshaping of this. So let's leave that there for now. We've got tons of other things to do. Nice brass thingies. We'll put these in a container. We'll keep this, come back, we'll keep all of this together, and we'll see you. I won't use that. We'll keep that one for another day. Put that in there, put that in there. We'll keep hold of the little shim in case we need it someday. I was being a bit hopeful there. I was hoping that it would come down so low that we would have to immediately change or shim the existing saddle, but we don't have to, so that's a problem, or a shame. We'll put these, well, we won't put them there, but we'll wrap them into there with a bit of green tape and call it quits for now. I have got a pile of what have I got a pile of? I have got a pile of desiccant packs which I can put in to play with this one. I can find them over here. Oh, here's one. They're sort of designed to hang up really hang up in your caravan. Absorbs up to 3 times its own weight in water. So we can take this out, can't we? Why won't you cut? Try not to cut the inside pack, it just won't do it at all. Okay. Yeah, so these are made for wardrobes really, but if you stand the case up, you actually can attach them like that, and they do a fair job. So I'll put this in the case first. I need a second workshop. Plan for 2020. Get a second workshop. Get a proper workshop anyway. Some space. Okay. You sit in there. Sit there for a minute. Sit out of the way. See you again.